Chris wasn't your average artist. He didn't paint landscapes, still lifes, or bowls of fruit. He painted goblins. Goblins with asses. Really, really nice asses. Big, round, glistening goblin asses that could make a nun blush. It was his thing, his passion, his weird, wonderful calling. He spent hours in his dingy studio apartment, hunched over his canvas, meticulously rendering each curve and dimple of his goblin subjects. He used vibrant colors, dynamic brushstrokes, and a level of detail that would make Michelangelo weep into his chisel. He knew it wasn't everyone's cup of tea. He didn't care. He was an artist, damn it, and he was going to paint what he loved, even if it was goblin ass. Professor Hawthorne, Chris's art professor, was a man who appreciated the classics. He lived for Rembrandt, worshipped Van Gogh, and considered Picasso a revolutionary genius. Goblins with prominent posteriors, not so much. Christopher, he'd say, his voice dripping with disdain. This is madness, this obsession with a posterior embellishment. It's crass, vulgar, it will get you nowhere. Chris listened patiently, nodding along as if taking in every word. Then he'd go back to his studio and paint an even bigger, juicier goblin ass. He respected his professor, he really did. But Chris had a vision, man. And that vision was filled with glorious, gravity-defying goblin booty. He wasn't going to let some stuffy old academic tell him otherwise. After graduation, Chris took a deep breath, ignored his student loans, and rented a small gallery space downtown. He called it the Goblin's Booty because, well, why the hell not? He hung his paintings, each one more outrageous than the last, and plastered the city with flyers featuring a particularly impressive goblin derriere. People thought he was insane. They weren't wrong. Opening night was interesting. Art critics scoffed, socialites gasped, and a group of particularly judgmental pigeons outside seemed to coo their disapproval. But amidst the chaos and confusion, something amazing happened. People were laughing, they were intrigued, and most importantly, they were buying. Chris's art, his bizarre, wonderful, goblin-ass-centric art, was a hit. Section 4. The fuzz on a fuzzbutt hunt, raid gone wrong. The success of the Goblin's Booty didn't go unnoticed. Specifically, it didn't go unnoticed by the local police department. Complaints poured in from concerned citizens, outraged mothers, and a particularly prudish chihuahua named Princess Fluffybottom. The police chief, a man named Officer Johnson, who looked like he hadn't cracked a smile since the Carter administration, decided enough was enough. This goblin-ass madness had to stop. So on a dark and stormy Tuesday evening, a squadron of police officers, looking like they'd rather be anywhere else, stormed into the Goblin's Booty, ready to shut down the operation. They expected debauchery, obscenity, maybe even a sacrificial goat or two. What they didn't expect was art. Beautiful, hilarious, weirdly erotic art. Section 5, Blue Steel meets Goblin Cheeks, the cops crack. The raid came to a screeching halt as the officers, weapons drawn and faces grim, came face to face with a 10-foot-tall canvas depicting a goblin with a behind so magnificent, so majestic, so utterly captivating that it could only be described as the Mona Lisa of goblin asses. The silence was broken by Officer Johnson, his voice a mixture of confusion and begrudging admiration. Holy mother of... Are those airbrushed? The tension broke. Officers started laughing. Then they started taking pictures. Then, to Chris's utter astonishment, some of them were so turned on that they started masturbating right there. The situation escalated quickly, and tragically, a few officers couldn't handle the intensity and masturbated themselves to death. Section 6. Atrocious behavior or artistic genius. The court of public opinion. Word of the raid spread like wildfire. Pictures of cops posing with goblin asses hit the internet, and suddenly Chris and his unconventional art were national news. The media had a field day. Talk shows debated the merits of goblin ass as art. News anchors struggled to keep straight faces. Pundits pontificated. Princess Fluffybottom barked angrily at the television. The public's reaction was divided, to say the least. Some were outraged, calling Chris's art obscene and a sign of the apocalypse. Others found it hilarious, a breath of fresh air in the often pretentious art world. The rest were just confused. But everyone, it seemed, had an opinion. Chris, meanwhile, found himself at the center of a media circus. His life turned upside down by a bunch of painted goblin butts. He wouldn't have had it any other way.